We are often told that the worst thing that can happen to a soul is to be forgotten. We are taught to fear the silence of an empty shore, the moment when no one calls our name, when there is nothing left to do for anyone else. In the story of Ariadne, we meet a woman who gave everything: her intelligence, her loyalty, her courage, and the literal thread that held her life together. She gave it to a hero who needed a way out of the dark, and when the darkness was defeated, she was left behind. Most retellings end here, or they treat her abandonment as a tragic footnote in the story of a man's victory. But if we listen closely to the rhythm of the waves on the island of Naxos, to the long pauses between one breath and the next, we hear a different truth. This is not the story of a woman who was lost. This is the story of a woman who was returned to herself. It is a story for anyone who has ever believed their worth depended on how useful they could be, and for anyone who had to be left alone before realizing they were already holding the thread to their own divinity. This is where the story begins. Crete was ruled by fear. Beneath the palace lay the Labyrinth, a maze so complex that no one who entered could find their way back. Inside lived the Minotaur, fed by lives sent into the dark. But the Labyrinth was more than a prison for the monster. It was a reflection of the mind that built it. Ariadne grew up above its winding corridors, learning its logic, its turns, its secrets. She understood the maze not because she feared it, but because she listened. She knew that every labyrinth has an order, that chaos always hides a pattern. And yet, this is often forgotten in her story. When Theseus arrived from Athens to Crete, he came not as a conqueror, but as a sacrifice. Ariadne saw him before he entered the maze. She did not fall in love with a legend, but with a choice, a man willing to face what others avoided. Ariadne was not simply the helper of a hero. She was the architect of the solution. Theseus could swing a sword, but he did not know the way back. Ariadne did. And many souls live like this. They understand complexity. They hold families together. They sense what others need before it is spoken. They are praised for their strength, but rarely protected by it. Their wisdom is used to build someone else's escape, someone else's throne. And so Ariadne did what she had always done. She gave. The thread was simple, red as blood, thin as trust. Ariadne placed it in Theseus's hands, and with it, she placed her future. This was not just an object. It was a promise that if he entered the darkness, he would not be alone. A promise that if he became lost, there would still be a way back. But in giving the thread, Ariadne did more than guide him. When he asked her to leave Crete, she agreed, believing she was choosing a future. And Ariadne followed him across the sea. She left her home, her lineage, her name. She did not want to be a witness to his victory. She wanted to be part of his life. And this is where many of us recognize ourselves. We offer our time, our insight, our emotional labor, believing it will lead us into connection. But some people are not looking for a bond. They are looking for an exit. We give away the threads of our lives to those who only want a way out, while we are still hoping for a way in. When Ariadne woke on the shore of Naxos, the ship was already gone. No explanation, no farewell, only the horizon, wide, indifferent, silent. This is the moment most myths rush past. But this is the moment that matters most, because suddenly, there was no one left to save, no one left to impress, no role left to perform, just the waves, arriving and leaving, without asking permission. Abandonment feels like erasure, but something else was happening here. For the first time, Ariadne was not needed, and in that unbearable stillness, another voice began to rise. Her own. Sometimes healing does not arrive as comfort. It arrives as silence. When the world stops demanding us, we finally hear what we want. Ariadne walked the island. She felt the ground beneath her feet, the sun on her skin. No longer Minos's daughter. No longer Theseus's promise. Just a woman. And in that walking, something unraveled. The belief that she was disposable. The story that she had been left because she was not enough. She began to understand. She was never a leftover. She was the center that had been abandoned by those who could not remain. The thread she gave away was never meant to lead her into someone else's story. It was meant to lead her back into her own. Identity returned slowly, like breath after grief, like color after darkness, and Ariadne did not rush it. Dionysus found her there, not as a rescuer, not as a hero in need of guidance, but as a god who knew grief, madness, ecstasy, and loss. He did not ask Ariadne to fix anything. He did not need her wisdom to escape. He saw her, fully, and he loved her not for what she could provide, but for what she already was. He married her, and through that union he made her immortal. He placed a crown upon her head, and later he lifted it into the sky and turned it into stars. The Corona Borealis, a reminder written into the night itself. When you stop shrinking your soul to guide others through their darkness, you become luminous. You attract a love that honors your divinity, not your usefulness. You do not disappear. You become a constellation. Ariadne teaches us that abandonment is not always rejection. Sometimes it is release. Not every loss is a punishment. Not every ending is a failure. Some are initiations. And some silences are the first moment you finally belong to yourself.